Our top focus story, the government has decided to cancel the Class 12 board exams in the interest of safety of students. This is a huge decision that's been taken. It has ramifications for lakhs of students across the country. At a meeting that was chaired by the Prime Minister yesterday, it was decided that the Class 12 CBSE board exams will be cancelled. The Prime Minister said that the health and safety of students is of utmost importance and there will be no compromise on this aspect. He said there's anxiety among students, parents and teachers which must be put to an end. He also said that students should not be forced to appear for exams in such a stressful situation, and all stakeholders need to show sensitivity towards students. The government said that it was decided, like last year, in some cases students desire to take exams at a later date. Such an option would be provided when the situation is conducive. The results, meanwhile, will be as per a well-defined objective criteria in a time-bound manner. Now, following this decision, the ICSE Class 12 board exams have also been cancelled. ISC students will also be given the option to appear at a later date. However, the criteria for assessment has not been made clear just yet. Well, this of course is the big story that we are in fact tracking for you. Meanwhile, remember, education is a concurrent subject and each state is empowered to take its own decision as far as the Class 10 and 12 board exams is concerned in Bengal. The decision has been deferred. The dates for the exams were to be announced today. Now, Bengal has set up an expert committee on the issue. The expert committee will give a report in the next 72 hours. This, of course, remember, is the big question now. After the CBSE and ICSE exams have been cancelled, will other states and other state boards follow suit? All right, joining us on the broadcast, we have Dr. Ekta Dhawan. She is joining us from the Baba Lalwani Public School in Kapurthala in Punjab. We also have Professor Geeta Bhatt, Director of the NC Webb, Delhi University. Thank you both very much for being with us. Dr. Dhawan is also going to be right. We will go across to Dr. Dhawan, but let me first bring in Professor Geeta Bhatt. The big question that is on everyone's mind now is what happens next. Given the fact that the board exams have been cancelled, a mechanism is going to be worked out as far as the grades and the announcement of results is concerned. How is this going to impact university admissions?
Well, Rishika, the prevailing COVID circumstances for the last 1 year and the recent peak in the pandemic that has been as a lot of concern regarding the students sitting for board exams, and with the decision which has been taken by the government and Prime Minister announced it, it is depending upon the Ministry of Education as well as the University Grant Commission, the decision which will be taken, most likely it is expected, it is yet to come, is something which will be based on assessment, either based on it could be based on 9th, 10th, 11th results of the students. It is still being contemplated, decided by the expert committees, that what would be the most objective way in a way that the assessment can be done the way closest possible to what would have been done if an exam had taken place. So, of course, in idealist condition, the possible, but since it is the health which is of the utmost priority for the students, considering that almost 14 lakh or more than 14 lakh students have to.
Yes. All right. We seem to be losing that audio line with you, Geeta, but we'll just try and reconnect with you in just a moment. Let me meanwhile get a reaction from Dr. Vijay Datta, Principal of the Modern School, Barakamba, joining us on the broadcast from New Delhi. Dr. Datta, your first reaction to these developments that have taken place, and secondly, is there any clarity on what the grading mechanism is going to be?
Well, first of all, it's a good idea to have these exams cancelled. I would like to say the interest of health and safety of our students, it is, of course, I fully agree, of utmost importance that there should be no compromise in this regard. There was a lot of anxiety amongst the students in this regard. So it's a very welcome move. Only thing, if it would have come a little sooner would have been nice. But it is indeed very nice that the exams have been cancelled in the interest of the health of these students.
Right. Dr. Datta, if I can also just ask you about the evaluation criteria, because that's going to be the next big question. Is there any clarity on what the assessment process is going to be?
Well, not at this point in time. It will take a little doing as to what could be the possible ideas. And when taking the 9, 10, 11, 12 is a long shot, because 9 and 10 has all these subjects. It is better to work out a formula around class 12, where you've taken the pre-board examinations 50%, and midterm or half-yearly could be taken 30%, the unit test 10%, the class 11 10%, and a total can be that way worked out.
All right. Do stay on with us. Let me also get in a word from Dr. Dhawan. Dr. Dhawan, how is this going to impact admissions going forward? Because we still don't have any clarity on the grading mechanism. That's something that's still being worked out, and no timelines on the declaration of results.
I think we have somehow, shifted the stress of students from grade 12 examinations to admissions to the universities and colleges. Now, whatever marks they get, based on whatever the CBSE puts up the formula, that will hardly be of any value. Now, each college, each university will have to have some sort of entrance exam, a competitive exam, and the students will have the stress of those examinations more now. So, I think something could have been done. And now, instead of all these students appearing for a board examination, all these students are going to appear for entrance exams.
Right. Dr. Datta, do you agree with that? That instead of board exams, now the pressure will shift on students to basically appear for written entrance examinations for university admissions?
The idea, because they would know that they have to mentally prepare for it in due course. That is the next step. So I think one step at a time, if thought of, is a good thing to do.
All right. Professor Geeta Bhatt, if I can bring you back into the conversation, say DU admissions. How are DU admissions going to be impacted by this?
Well, you see, earlier under the National Education Policy, it was being planned that it is NTA which is going to hold an examination for all the central universities, and based on that then and on counselling, the admissions will take place. A common entrance will be happening. Now, in the present circumstances, there could be some change which may happen, and there is a possibility that there could be an entrance exam, or it could be a merit-based admission as it used to be earlier also. So it is something which a call the university will take, the university officials will take.
All right,
in due course of time.
No clarity yet on what it's going to be. We also have Sudha Acharya, principal of the ITL school, joining us. Your reaction, to the cancellation of exams and the fact that we don't yet have clarity on what the grading mechanism is going to be. All right, we seem to have lost that line with Sudha Acharya. We'll try and reconnect in just a bit. But Dr. Datta, if I can bring you back into the conversation here. There are students who apply to different universities, whether it's in India or abroad, after class 12. Of course, several students, do appear for written examinations, whether it is, in specialized fields. I want to understand from you, how do you think this decision impacts university admissions abroad specifically? Because a lot of students have provisional offers pending their class 12 results.
Right. I think it should not affect too much, because the transcripts and the predicted scores are anyway sent out much in advance. And the US, they make the admissions anyway before the class 12 results come in. So it won't much impact, for the school predicted scores are sent, and they are with the universities, and the reports they take from the schools. Fortunately, they believe the schools quite a lot, and that way I think it would not affect as much as one would expect.
Right. Another quick reaction from all of you. Dr. Datta, first to you. Do you believe that this objective assessment criteria should have been worked out? We've had a year and a half to work on this. Should we have anticipated it and perhaps already had this grading mechanism worked out?
Well, people were not very sure. We were not very sure whether this will come in. But yes, if we would have worked on this and if we would have been able to spell it out exactly at this point in time, would have been definitely nice. But it will take a little doing at this point in time.
Right. Dr. Dhawan, your views? Should we have used this time to work out this objective assessment criteria?
Yes, we should have. And if this announcement would have been made along with the, the criteria, it would have been better for the students and more clarity would have been there on their minds.
Right. Sudha Acharya, we seem to have lost that line with you earlier, but you're joining us now. Thanks for being with us. We're talking about, this ambiguity at the moment, the uncertainty over how students are really going to be graded. Many students have worries about, their pre-board marks being given more weightage. Pre-boards are typically tougher exams, catering for the boards, preparing you for the boards. They're also marked a lot tougher. Do you think we should have worked out this criteria sooner?
Yeah, you are correct. But with the decision, I must tell you, children got a closure. Actually, for a long time, they were thinking whether exam will happen or not. In our last discussion, we were talking about if exam happens, how it should happen. And now that exam is not happening, lot of discussion is going on. Already, we should move ahead. And class 12, the only problem is that there is no standardization. Like in class 10th, CBSE gave us some standardization. Schools conducted few exams. In 12th, as children are saying, pre-board exam generally is a very tough exam, and children improve 10 to 15% of their score in board exam.
True.
But a lot of discussion is going on. We should move ahead for future that in 2022, what should be our modalities. But now, of course, a lot of discussion is going on. If I say some of us, we have completed our practical exams and uploaded the marks. But some of the schools, they have yet to finish practical exam. So whether internal projects have been done, they have been assessed properly due to COVID. Some schools could conduct exams, some schools could not. So it would be a tough time on what basis assessment will be done, and the objective criterion, of course, the best possible criterion will come from CBSE for the benefit of the child, of course.
But Ms. Acharya, Geeta Bhatt earlier on the show had talked about the fact that even as far as Delhi University is concerned, there is a question mark right now on whether the class 12 exam results will be acceptable or whether, an entrance exam will be sought. Do you believe that the pressure will shift now on, there will be more pressure on students in a certain sense because there's no criteria that's been worked out on how they'll be graded and no criteria on whether those grades will be acceptable to universities even in India?
You are correct here, because the handshake between school and transition to higher education have not been properly chalked out. So if we could talk to university people, suppose we go for common entrance exam, and what will be the modalities? Again, online, is it possible really?
Yes.
If we take the example of SRCC and all, lakhs of children apply there. And so many courses, Delhi University, if I talk about, so many courses are available. So common entrance exam, again, children have to orient themselves, again have to prepare for the common entrance exam, which they were not aware of. So all these modalities are there. So the gap between school and higher education should have been really thought of.
Geeta Bhatt, do you agree, as someone who's on the other side of this gap, as someone who is a university professor, do you agree that this is a gap that we need to bridge better going forward?
Well, you see, there are, of course, there is always a scope for improvement. But first thing is that this announcement has definitely put down a lot of anxiety which was in parents, in teachers, and in the students regarding holding of the examinations. And definitely whatever are the modalities and the objectives that have to be decided, that will be decided very soon. The government has already announced that within a couple of days, and enough time will be given to the students I think by all the universities. If any kind of whatever modalities they decide, they will give enough time to the students to work out or prepare themselves for it.
One sincerely hopes that whatever marking mechanism is worked out is something that universities accept, because like several principals have pointed out, they don't want the burden of of examination now to shift towards entrance examinations, especially since students have just heaved a huge sigh of relief with the cancellation of boards. It's going to be a story we'll track here very closely. Thank you all very much for sparing your valuable time and being with us on NDTV. We'll keep a close watch on all of those developments. No clarity yet on the marking mechanism or when the results will in fact be announced. So that, of course, is the big story.